you get the record. So there you go. Yep, and then I just sort of sit, watch, pay attention. When it gets to the end, when they start going to executive session, you just stand back up.
Regular monthly meeting of the Board of Trustees for April 19, 2018. Welcome. It's nice to see everyone in the audience tonight. First item on the agenda is the invocation of Pledge of Allegiance. And I'll turn that over to Vice Chairman Bingham.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Tonight we have with us two students from Brooklyn Casey High School. We have Rachel Lynn Kiesler, who's going to do the invocation, and we have Jessica Michelle Harmon, who's going to do the Pledge of Allegiance. Rachel is a senior at the Quest program at BC High School. She's enrolled in advanced and honors classes and maintains a 4.7 GPA.
Wow.
She's a member of the Latin Club, the Honors Choir, and the Math Honor Society. Rachel currently serves as the treasurer of the National Honor Society. She's played soccer and tennis for BC for 2 years, and in her free time, she enjoys playing tennis and spending time with family and friends. Rachel plans to attend the University of South Carolina in the fall of 2018 and major in nursing. She hopes to become a labor and delivery nurse. Jessica is a senior in the Quest program at BC High School, and she's enrolled in advanced and honors classes and maintains a 4.8 GPA. She's a member of the National Honor Society and the Math Honor Society. Jessica currently serves as vice president of the French Honor Society and is treasurer of the Tri-M Honor Society. She has been in band all 4 years at BC and is a drum major of the marching band. In her free time, she enjoys reading and spending time with family and friends. Jessica plans to attend Mercer University in the fall of 2018. So with that, we will welcome Rachel and Jessica to the podium. Rachel, if you'll lead us in the invocation first, and Jessica follow behind her with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let us bow our heads and close our eyes in prayer. Our God, today I would like to take this opportunity to express how thankful we are for the guidance, wisdom, and memories that you have provided to the entire Lexington II School District family. Thank you for the wonderful school year you have given us so far. I pray that you will continue to bless the students, faculty, and staff of Lexington II as our school year comes to an end. Tonight, I ask that you provide wisdom and strength as you guide the board members in their decision-making. Help them make the right choices as they guide our district, and clothe them in your strength and guidance. Thank you so much for the opportunities and blessings you give us daily. In your Son's name we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, ladies.
Next item on the agenda is the consent agenda, approval of the agenda, and approval of the minutes from the March 15, 2018 board meeting and the March 29, 2018 executive session and board workshop. There's no objections. The agenda will stand approved as submitted. Next, we have public participation period. Mr. Hinton. All right, next we're going to move on to reports, honors, and accomplishments of students and staff. And before I turn this over to Dr. James to recognize our junior scholars, our board member Kevin Key is going to give us a little update on a presentation from the last meeting on the buddy bench. Is that correct?
Just wanted to bring y'all up to speed on the buddy bench. If y'all was here, I think 2 meetings ago, Sarah Catherine came in from Springdale, and she had the vision of doing a buddy bench for all the elementary schools. What the bench is basically about is if this child comes there, they feel like they need a friend or feel kind of lonely, new child at school, they can go to the bench and people will come to them. And it's a way of meeting people. And so she came to the board, presented, and her goal is to have one in every school. And so today we took her she saw her first buddy bench. I think we got a picture of it somewhere. And so through the help of D&T Steel, through their gracious donations, all the schools will be supplied with a buddy bench. We're going to do the color of the schools, and they will be in place before next school year. So just want to bring you Rob has the picture. You might be able to get them out.
All right, well, thank you, Kevin.
Yes, and D&T Steel are also Lexington 2 graduates, so they do a lot of work for schools, and they continue to give back to the kids, so we really thank D&T Steel.
And I'd also like to take a moment and welcome, we're always honored to have Senator Setzler and his lovely wife, Ada Jane, in the audience tonight. Thank you for being here.
Our major recognition on honors and accomplishments is our junior scholars. Our middle schools have made this a really important time, and it's a good time for our kids to be recognized. These young people represent the brightest kids in the state and compete at the national level because of their academic achievement. Dr. Haywood has a list that we want to recognize students individually, and I think these guys have a handout over there too. So, Marcella, if you will.
Well, good evening, everyone. Let me try that again. Good evening, everyone. That's better. Thank you. We will try to be as expeditious as possible, but make sure that we do take time to properly honor our honorees tonight, because this is an auspicious occasion for you all to be with us. So we do want to pay homage to you all and the work that you've done, as well as your families. At this point in time, we'll ask the Busby administration to come forward. As Dr. Brooks and his team will be coming forward, I would like to give you a little bit of background on the South Carolina Junior Scholars Program, which was developed by the State Department in 1985 and 1986 to identify 8th graders with exceptional academic talent. This program reflects the growing statewide effort to improve education in our great state and responds to the needs of students possessing unique abilities. The purpose of the program is to identify and provide students opportunities that will facilitate their intellectual growth, broaden their individual interests, and promote their scholastic achievement. A student can become eligible for the Junior Scholar Program by either scoring 550 or higher on evidence-based reading and writing section or a 530 or higher on the math section of the PSAT, or by being identified and recognized as a Duke Tip Grand Scholar. Tonight, we have 26 junior scholars for this district, and we are very proud of each of you. Some of our junior scholars could not be with us tonight, but we do want to honor them in their absence. So if you will give us that privilege, we would appreciate it. Dr. Brooks? Our junior scholar recipient from Busby Creative Arts Academy is Riley Burr. Riley wants to be a fighter jet pilot in the Air Force or an anesthesiologist. She likes to go to the gym, clean, listen to music, and cook. And Riley, I could sure use you at my home. Let's give Riley a round of applause. We invite Fulmer Middle School's representative to the podium. Our first awardee is Jackson Boatnight. Jackson would like to become a computer technician, and he enjoys computer programming and playing soccer. Jackson Boatnight. Arthur Kaminsky, who desires to become a chemist, and he has interest in computer networking and programming. Arthur Kaminsky. Chase Kiesler, who wants to become an engineer or businessman. He likes to draw, run, and listen to music. Chase Kiesler. Sally Skinner, who desires desires to become a lawyer or a physical therapist, and she wants you to know that she cheers for airport. Sally Smith. We invite the Pine Ridge Middle School administration to the podium. Our first honoree is Tiffany Lynn, who desires to become a quantum physicist or an activist. She hopes to be a linguist and help people. She likes to read and sleep. She wants to learn calligraphy and martial arts. She says that she is an introvert. Tiffany Lynn. Jillian Jakes, who wants to be an animator. She says she's into digital art and she enjoys designing characters. Good job, Jillian. Jordan Jakes. She aspires to be a counselor or a psychologist. She enjoys writing and creating stories for herself. Good job, Jordan. Who wants to be an animator. She enjoys creating characters and stories, and she likes to surprise folks with unexpected twists and turns. We need to talk, Jennifer. Good job, Jennifer. Northside Middle. Our first junior scholar recipient from Northside, Ainsley Allen. Ainsley wants to be a surgeon, and she loves to run, and she enjoys reading. We're proud of you, Ainsley Allen. I don't think he could be with us this evening, but if he did slip in, we do want to honor Joshua Arega. Joshua could not be with us this evening, but he wants to be an architect. Let's give him a round of applause. Abigail Boone. Abigail aspires to have a career as a pharmacist. She has been dancing for 11 years and she enjoys spending quality time with her family and friends. Miss Abigail Boone. Luke Carroll. He wants to work in the music field someday. He enjoys playing soccer, Fortnite, and listening to music. Wow, we need to find out what Fortnite is. Miss Cassie Drew, who wants to be an English teacher. She needs to see Dr. Cooper after this presentation. She loves to read and write, and she enjoys music and playing the guitar. Cassie Drew. Zach Garrison, who says he one day wants to work in the medical field. He enjoys playing football, listening to music, and again, playing Fortnite, which I'm going to have to Google. Cole Geyer. Cole wants to be a robotics engineer. He needs to see Mr. Bingham. He enjoys Fortnite again, reading, chorus, music, and playing with his brother Chance. We're so proud of you, Cole Geyer. In her absence, we would like to honor Caden Giles. She wants to pursue her goal as a physical therapist. Caden enjoys competitive cheerleading and playing softball for BC High School, as well as hanging out with her friends. She is also the daughter of board member Brad Giles. Congratulations. Bruce Lawton Powers. Bruce wants to be a pediatrician. He enjoys playing soccer, listening to music, and guess what? Playing Fortnite. Chaz Pierce. Chaz aspires to be an engineer. He plays soccer, he loves math, he likes spending quality time with his family and friends. Chaz Pierce. Sydney Springs. desires to work in the digital arts and design and create entertainment for everyone. She likes to create fun videos, listen to music, and play Chloe Sturkey, she wants to be a veterinarian. She is on a scenes and monologues team and a musical theater team. She also enjoys reading and writing poetry. Chloe Sturkey. Tara O'Toole, our next pediatrician to be. She enjoys ballet and she plays the violin. Tara O'Toole. Kaya Vega could not be with us tonight, but she would like for you to know that she aspires to be a marine biologist and she enjoys playing the guitar, reading, and listening to music. Let's give her a hand. Jackson Ward wants to be an attorney. He likes to play Fortnite and travel the world. Jackson Ward. Katie Welsh wants to become a marine biologist. She enjoys playing tennis and the piano and loves to travel. Katie Welsh. Last but certainly not least, Mr. Dylan Whitman. He is going to pursue a career in business management. He enjoys playing the trumpet with the BC High School Band and listening to music. Dylan Whitman. Before we give them a thunderous round of applause, if you're a junior scholar, we're going to ask you to meet Ms. Dawn on the front step. She will do group pictures, individual photos, and a collective group photo for the Lexington School District 2 social media. But without further hesitation, I'm going to ask the parents, family, and friends. We certainly appreciate all that you do. We know that this is a community and a family in Lexington 2, and none of this would be made possible without your support and you being behind our babies. So we thank you, and we want to give you a round of applause. To be heard way down in old Norway, South Carolina. We want our family and friends to stand and give our 2018 Junior Scholars a thunderous round of applause. Stay for the remainder of the meeting. If not, you are to continue with the reception in the lobby. Thank you.
That's our
And that's what Marty said. She said, I'm going to hang out here until all y'all clear the room. And then I'll go to all the speakers. We got to do pictures. We got a few minutes.
Okay, keep moving, bud.
That's right.
Favorite.
Great job. You wowed the crowd.
Oh, thank you.
Wowed the crowd.
Keep it safe, Dave.
Yes, always.
Over the weekend of March 17th, Airport High School student government members participated in the South Carolina Association of Student Council State Conference that was held in Easley. If you'll come right on the ramp. The Student Council received gold recognition for their work in all areas of leadership. It's the second year in a row that they have received gold status, which is the highest recognition level you can receive. Two of the projects for these young people were Reading Buddies and Senior Walk, and received honorable mentions in the 4A category. Trace Wingard, Jr. was inducted into the Terry McCord Leadership Hall of Fame for his work in student government. Trace was also elected to the South Carolina Association of Student Council's District 3 Chairman. With this title, Airport's Council will host the District 3 rally in the fall of 2018. The 2018 charity drive by these young folks raised $57,960.50. The good thing is, my understanding, there's still donations that are coming in. They've done a fabulous job for 25 years for this county chemo. Kaylin Hall, a junior, and Callie Richburg, a sophomore, ran for office at the district and state levels. The sponsor, Mr. Daniel Bailey, who is the president-elect as the SCASA Advisor Association, is also Lexington 2's Teacher of the Year. Received confirmation that for the second year in a row, Airport High School Student Council was named the National Association of Student Council's National Gold Council of Excellence. Mr. Bailey. We appreciate you and what these young folks are doing, and on behalf of anybody that has ever been touched by cancer, what you're doing is one of the finest things imaginable. So, congratulations, thank you, and we wish you well. I got notification by John Patterson, who is the Dean of the College of Education at the University of South Carolina, that the university was able to support two people from each of the professional development schools to present at the National Professional Development Schools Conference. This year, Ms. Carrero, the principal of Fulmer Middle School, was selected to present twice. This is the first time in almost 25 years that we have professional development partnerships with the University of South Carolina, and Megan has taken this to a higher level, presenting twice at the national level, and Megan is appreciative of what you're doing to represent this district. Congratulations.
Thank you, Dr. James. Okay, we will now move on to the next item, which is unfinished business, which we have no unfinished business. So now we'll move on to new business, and I will turn that over to Mr. Eisenhower.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board, Dr. James. I have some handouts that I would like to give you on the first item. And what we have done here is we've asked the principal director of the adult education program to put together a committee and to come up with at least 3 names for consideration of this new facility, which is going to be at Brooke and Casey #1. I saw the plans that she had the other day, and she's just about got every space in that building assigned to someone. So they're very excited about the opportunity that y'all have given them to have the ability to move into this new place. And they propose to you for consideration the 3 names that we have passed out to you. Their preference at this point would be item number 3 for your consideration. And the administration recommends approval of item number 3, which is the Lexington 2 Community Education Center.
Motion to approve the recommendation Lexington 2 Community Education Center on the manager for our adult education.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. 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 Opposed? Motion carries. And I believe we're not going to do item B.
Yes, ma'am. We'd like to remove from consideration item B, which is the consideration of playground installation at Springdale Elementary School. And the reason being is that as of today, we had some issues to come up with storm drain that we need to work out before we bring you a final price. We'll plan to bring that to you at the next board meeting in May.
All right, and now we'll move on to item C, is consideration of playground installation for Saluda River Academy.
Yes, ma'am. I have also handouts for you for items C and D.
Okay.
The first item, which is item number C, is consideration of playground installation contract for Saluda River Academy of the Arts. And what we have given you is the amount of money that it will take to, if you recall, we removed some playground equipment that was already in existence at Saluda River that was in really good shape. There was one piece that was not in good shape, so we took that one out. But there were a couple of items that were still there that were in very good shape. So if you will look on the back of your page on that one, you can see what we're going to be putting in at Saluda River in addition to those 2 pieces that we were able to salvage before we started all of the demolition work and site work. So one of the things that we had hoped to accomplish at the majority of our playgrounds as we go and do work is we want to try to get ADA accessibility. And this will give us ADA accessibility there as well as the ones that we've already done. So the administration recommends approval of the contract to install new playground equipment or install new and existing playground equipment to Thompson Turner in the amount of $89,991. And most of the extra equipment that you see there would be more for the ADA accessibility for the students that are impaired to be able to use the playgrounds as well.
Okay.
Just a question, if I may, and it doesn't concern this project, but what is the life of the turf on this most of the time? What is the replacement for the turf?
It depends on how much it gets used and whether you put it in the playground or swings and things like that, which we don't have in this case. But typically, you can look at around 10 years.
Motion to approve the contract for Slough River Playground is presented.
I have a motion.
Second.
And I have a second. Any discussion, Mr. Green?
All right, how does this go within the contract? Where, I mean, dollars on budget, where is this?
Right now, we're planning to take this out of contingency, but we want to make sure that we have, that's why I'm bringing it to you, just in the event that it does not, if we don't have enough contingency when it's over, it would come out of furniture and equipment. So right now, it would just be absorbed in the contract for Thompson Turner.
And that'll be true for both of them?
No, sir. The other one would have to come out of furniture and equipment money.
Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item number D is consideration of playground installation contract for Riverbank Elementary School, which is the new school that we're building right straight across from Northside Middle School. And in this case, with the amount being $248,148, we feel that that's more than we would like to take out of contingency. So this would, as it did at Casey, it would come out of playground and equipment money, if I'm not mistaken. And at Casey, we're going to end up getting back around $1.3 million in contingency. We could have taken it out of there, and we will more than likely get, $1.2 million back on this school as well. But until we get to that point, we just feel better about taking it out of furniture equipment. So the administration recommends approval of, again, it's the contract to Thompson Turner in the amount of $248,148.
Okay.
Motion to approve the playground equipment for Riverbank Elementary School is presented by administration.
I have a motion and a second. Ms. Kessler, any discussion? Mr.
Question,
Johnson?
please. Don, I know Pineview has a couple of newer pieces of equipment as well that were involved in the last several years, so those plan would be transferred over as well, especially since we're not going to be using at this point.
At this point, we have not looked at those and looked at placing those anywhere else. It's possible. We would have to look at the cost for the age of it, whether it's still in warranty, and the cost of moving and that sort of thing. But
these were purchased, I believe, within the past probably 5 to 7 years by PTA funds and whatnot. So these are newer pieces of equipment that we need to make sure that we use somewhere. If we're not using the Riverbank,
Still in good shape.
still in good shape. Take them VC number 1 before,
we will certainly take that into consideration.
just want to make sure that they get used somewhere.
Mr. Green?
All right, so we had contingency left over from Casey.
Yes, sir.
And that included their playground equipment?
No, their playground equipment was taken out of furniture and equipment money as well. It was a separate contract. And the big reason that we do that on these large items is, again, we're trying to eliminate the extra cost for the architect fees, which is around 7%. So that's an automatic savings that we would like to pass along to the building project.
Okay.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, next item is consideration of 2018-19 CPIF budget.
Madam Chair, I bring to your attention the CPIF budget that we have in your packet, which is, I think, 2 pages back in your book. And it's basically the same budget that we presented to you in the workshop, with the exception of, I think we put a portable stage in that we would like to use at BC High School while their auditorium is being renovated, that we would like to put in the old gym. And then when that project is over, we would like to move this portable stage to Northside Middle School, which does not at this time have a stage. So we would like to recommend that approval of the budget for capital projects as presented.
Motion to approve the CPI budget as presented by administration.
The motion to have a second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Giles. Any discussion?
Yes, question. I get several questions.
Okay, all right.
You just said that that would be placed in the original small gym.
Yes,
What's the need for a stage if it's going to be put in that small area?
and we're talking about the old gym that's
Yes,
the
it used to be-
basketball court.
Yes, it's attached to the main building. It's the original building. It's called the small gym in my time.
Well, it would give them.
It's a small area, so I'm thinking, I don't even see how you could set chairs in there for a stage.
It's been used for indoor batting practice.
And it's,
stuff now,
and it's
too,
an
right?
indoor batting cage now, and has
Turf.
turf on the floor.
Well, part of what we're trying to accomplish with the renovation of Whitman Casey High School vocational wing is to move most of that stuff out of there and into the vocational building.
To the high bay area, okay.
Now, I'm gonna bring some stuff to you in just a second that may delay that, and I'm not sure that this will work out like we want. And if it doesn't, then we may have to just buy it for Northside Middle School. But we're hoping to get the high school place to have class meetings and that sort of thing, where that they can put chairs in there on the basketball court that's in that gym and have seating for 300-400 students.
I taught in there, I'm not sure you're gonna have room for that. I taught there for years. I can't see putting a class in there.
And it's not air conditioned, so you'd be limited in the fall.
You might try to do that for Northside, and you hate it for BC for a while, but I taught in that. It was rough with the class. Of course, my class was 45, but that was very crowded condition even for those, that number. Okay, so that's food for thought for you all.
Well, it would
But I had several-
definitely needed at Northside, so.
Yes. Mr., here you've got the roofing for former middle school at $950,000 on that fund. Why isn't that roofing for former included in the bond agreement on the CPIF?
Well, if you recall, part of what our strategy was to try to do roofing, HVAC work and that sort of thing from CPIF and use a roofing architect, again, to minimize markup by the contractor and the architect so we could save money and put that money toward the other projects.
That's $1
Or
million.
even this project.
That's a large sum of money to be taken out of CPIF money when that building should be covered with bond reform.
I mean, it can be, it's just that, this has been our strategy all along.
This gives us a little bit more money to.
Yes, ma'am. This, we've presented to you information in the past where we've saved you in somewhere in the neighborhood of $15 to $20 million. And this is part of how we've been able to do that.
Plus,
All
this
right,
is
then you have the airport high school gym, HVAC. Is that the new gym or the original gym?
The person,
I think it's the original gym.
it's the older gym.
I think it is the older gym.
Okay. Then you've got baseball bleachers, ADA accessible. Why wasn't that accomplished when we did the other facilities in it? I thought that everything would be taken care of for ADA accessibility at one time, and here we're spending another $20,000 to give it to the bleachers.
I'm not sure I understand. I mean, we've just in the process of working on ADA accessibility to the baseball and softball fields. We've been working on those for the last 2 summers.
They just moved the bleachers that we had.
And we
This is to
moved-
buy new
This is to
ADA
try to
accessible.
save from having to buy new bleachers. We're trying to go in and modify the existing bleachers. And we couldn't work on them until we put them back into place, which only occurred 2 weeks ago.
Would that be on a raised hill there? Could that not just be a pad maybe? We could pull in, or do you have to do something to the existing bleacher also?
The existing bleachers have to be, basically we have to cut in and modify those. You have to be able to have companion seating right beside the ADA.
Do you have it at the softball field?
We're working on getting that, yes.
Okay, pressure washer, $50,000. Are we going to buy a pressure washer so we'll have it from now on, or are you going to get an outside company to come in and pressure wash one time?
The $50,000 was across the district to hire a company to come in and pressure wash, like in front of BC High School.
My question is, why are we buying our own machine so that we have it for the next year, the next year, and the next year?
We probably have a pressure washer.
We do have the pressure washer, but you know, I like the pressure washer in front of BC High School, and the height of that thing, I mean, we don't have the ability to do that versus somebody with a.
That's what I'm thinking. You could buy the equipment and have it from now on.
You can't.
We don't have the manpower or the lifts to be able to do it. It's probably something that we can later. Yeah, they are guys to do it too.
Wanted to hear somebody say something. When we originally talked about trucks, we were going to replace the service trucks 2-year, and now I'm seeing that we're doing it 3-year. Will these be actually used in the
3 service trucks that you have in there, what are you planning to do with those?
They are to replace older vehicles that we have now in service.
When we originally sat down and talked about it, we said we would do 2. And now I see that it's moved up to 3, and that's why it got my eye. I didn't see it, didn't notice it before, but we voted that we would do it at 2 a year and pound it another 3. And is it actually going to be used with the workers in the
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. We have some older. We have an older van, a couple older trucks. We'd like to phase those out and put newer trucks in. So.
The only thing that I'm aware of that we do 2 is activity buses. We do 2 1 year and 1 1 year. I don't know if we've ever discussed trucks before, not since I've been here.
And can you tell me what individual school items are with $60,000? I know you've got individual school items, but just give me a couple of examples of what you might.
I didn't bring my list, Bill.
We're talking about putting a sound system in at Busby Elementary. They wanted an extension of the dance floor. They want some handrails put up.
That sound system for Busby's up here. I think it's $35,000.
Yeah.
Okay, but this is additional. This is $60,000, so that wouldn't include Busby because you've got it allocated for Busby up here.
Okay.
Busby CAA sound and projection is $40,000.
They want their dance floor extended there, and over at there's a couple of different projects, and we didn't allocate the full funds, but as needs come up in the schools and they ask for stuff, we had a little bit of money to take care of some of these things. Some outside bleachers and stuff like that. So
is this kind of miscellaneous category?
It kind of is. As something comes up, we don't have ADA accessibility at the elementary school. We can go in and spend $5,000 or $10,000 and make it work.
It is actually a rather long list, and this list was developed after the principals met with Dr. James and Kelly Richardson, and they basically gave them their items that they needed at schools. And what we've done is we've tried to evaluate those, and I apologize for not bringing that list, but there are, I would say, at least 20 items on there that are not on this.
Can we get a copy of that list for this?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Eisenhower, what about the restroom portables? Now, just tell me it's not one of those little blue porta-john?
No, over at Davis, we're having to add 5. I'm sorry, we're having to add 5 portables, and the distance from
so
away.
Is it going to be like a bus, like a trailer?
It's going to be.
Portables?
It'll be a portable that is converted and has a male and female restrooms, 4 stalls each in there. So it's
with hand washing facilities.
20 by 30 with hand washing, ADA, and all that stuff. So.
Thank you.
And that's to accommodate 4 when they go there. Is that correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
It's going to be very, very tight at Davis with 4 moving in there. We're just trying to figure out the best way to do that. We're going to have to move in several portables, and we're thinking that OSF is going to require us to maybe put in some additional restrooms, and this is what we're hoping to do to accommodate that.
Are the portals, I saw the thing of moving portals from Pineview, are those still within the age that we can move those? Because I know that was a problem when we were looking at those originally as far as age.
I think in our discussions, Bill, I don't know which ones were which, but basically these are, some of these are 2003 then.
2003 vintage, I have 3 at Pineview and 2 at BC1. Those are the 5 we're going to pull.
And so they are allowed to be moved?
Well,
Yes, we're applying.
They can be moved, but there may be some wind load issues because the code changed in '06 that updated those wind loads, and we may have to go back in and do some things to those, but it still would be cheaper than purchasing additional portables.
I noticed we got money in there for athletic field equipment and then also in more.
Yes, sir.
Are we trying to maintain these fields ourselves, or what is that for?
The athletic field equipment would be an aerator, and we do not have a cleaner for the AstroTurf fields. So it's a device that goes through, scoops it up, and gets all the sunflower seeds and all that stuff out of those. So we'd like to purchase a few pieces of equipment to do those. Yes, sir.
But the more, are we looking at maintaining these fields ourselves, or what are we looking at on these?
Yes.
At this point, we do not have a budget that I'm aware of to give to the schools, the 2 high schools specifically for field maintenance.
So we think we have enough manpower to maintain all these fields that we just spent all the money on?
Yes, sir, we do.
Just so you know, Mr. McPherson has used in the past, there's a program that Clemson puts out, and you know, I'm not a Clemson or a South Carolina fan, but I'm just telling you that, you know, they have a pretty good field maintenance program, and he wants to modify that some, and he wants to start implementing that on our fields. And as you know, we have a volunteer that's taking care of one of our high school fields right now. Unfortunately, we don't have 2 of those, but we would love to have another.
Any other questions? Have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right, next we have item F, and that is consideration of current peer education center site for performing arts and district education center facility.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Dr. James, we have with us tonight Mr. Todd Cease from Jumper Carter Cease, who is going to present for your consideration the possibility of locating the Performing Arts Center and the district office at the Pear site, which is a site that we already own. And we've looked at it, and we feel that we can get adequate parking and have adequate space for the facility. So, Mr. Cease.
All right, thank you, Mr. Eisenhower, Madam Chair, members of the board, Dr. James, thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight and to kind of give you an update on some of the investigative type work that we've been doing on the Pear Elementary School site. So just to orient you, Platte Springs Road kind of runs up and down the left-hand side of the sheet. This, as you probably know, this piece of property is almost dead center between Airport High School and BC High School, so we think that it's a nice spot for the district office and the Lexington 2 Fine Arts. As Don mentioned, the facility kind of sits in the center of the site. There's a wonderful grouping of pine trees out front on Platte Springs Road that if you look through, you can see the building. We think that would really give a nice setting. We've wrapped the facility with parking around. There are 400 parking spaces out front and on the side. Don asked us to look at adding an additional 100 spaces, and we certainly could do that in the back of the site. And this is off of Decatur, which runs along the bottom of the drawing. There will be a small area for above ground detention, but with the additional parking, we'll also have to investigate some underground detention. So the site slopes from up in this direction down toward the south, so it's a gently sloping site. works well for the topography for a facility like this. Our thought is to make this as much of a multi-use and dual-use type facility as possible. So that we've located the district office more on the northeastern side of the site in this area. It'll be a 2-story facility, have a boardroom that's larger than this one for sure. So on nights like tonight, you'll be able to get everybody in here to celebrate the accomplishments of all the students in Lexington too. So we were planning that. This area right here really becomes a multi-use lobby space. So the events that you have in the lobby out front here could take place there as for district office type functions, but then also it's the lobby for the auditorium. So again, the dual utilization of space and making it cost effective. The house is 1,000 seats and it's located here. There'll be a working stage with scene shops and dressing rooms and support spaces for a working stage, service and loading docks. So if you have groups coming in and need access to a stage, you will be able to do that kind of on the back side of the site, out of certainly view from your main corridor on Platte Springs Road. And then, as you guys mentioned a while back, we also have the opportunity to create some cape type spaces for set design or lighting design or, you know, stagehand, drama, those type black box type opportunities that as we go through the design of this facility, we think we've got the opportunity to include those if that's the direction of the board. So any questions you might have, it's a really nice site, and I think it certainly will accommodate all of the needs of the school district.
Will the front door be on the Platte Springs side or on Decatur?
No, right here. So this main drive coming in, you'll be looking dead down the axis, and certainly, you know, the architecture will have a vertical element here that definitely indicates the main entrance to the district office and the main entrance to the Fine Arts facility.
Madam Chairman,
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to table this.
I second that motion.
Okay.
And this is not taking anything away from Utah.
We're not
I
criticizing
guess
you.
my thing is we were looking at other options as far as where to locate this. And I like the idea of discuss having, you know, more than just an auditorium. My fear with this spot is that we're locking ourselves in from a land standpoint for any kind of future expansion. With the size of our facility here, I mean, and the needs that the district office has are pretty substantial. Do you think you're actually going to be able to accommodate that with just a 2-story structure that's something similar shown there?
We do. So that's, you know, in the 25,000 to 30,000 square foot range, which is what we've talked about allocating for our district office. There's certainly some flexibility where it could grow if we needed to, and possibly either, you know, future expansion on this end or out the back. So it does lend itself to have some flexibility, and again, you know, we need some programmatic type meetings that we'll go through when we start the process, but we think that there's plenty of space there for this facility.
The areas on the right side, do you envision those as 2-story as well, as far as the workshop spaces or potential classrooms, or is that a 2-story?
Certainly, that could be a possibility, yes.
Is this facility within the budget for this project?
We haven't run any numbers yet, but do you think it will be?
Well, certainly, as we'll discuss later, you know, there's tremendous upward pressure on costs these days, and you know, but we'll always design to the budget. So once we figure out what the budget number is, then we'll design a facility that meets the budget.
Is this much area, space? So brick and mortar, cardboard.
Right.
I just have one more question, as we do have a motion to table, but, and I'm certainly not opposed to having, you know, classrooms and everything. But if the classroom area wasn't there, could the house be made bigger where you could actually have a meeting that would hold everybody from the district in there? I mean,
1,400.
14.
Well, anytime you get above about 1,000 person house, then it really makes sense to start going vertically and to have
Balconies.
some balconies and mezzanines and things like that. You know, again, that just gets back to the overall budget,
Right.
but we certainly could take a look at that.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. I have a motion and a second to table.
I have a question about why we're tabling.
Because, I'd like for us to consider maybe some other, spaces.
Well, the last time we had our workshop, I think, and we kind of given Don the freedom to go and look and see if there's different places to put it as far as land, and whatnot throughout the district, whether it was existing or something else that we want to potentially purchase. Just because I knew we had concerns, we got the underground retention, we know we're going to have to do here.
We're centrally located in this paper.
Well, that's true, and that is a good option.
I mean, it's not voting it down, it's just taking a look at it.
More time.
To show
Well,
the schematics, yes.
I would still like, Kevin and I both would still like for at least some of our other board members to see what they've done in Greenville, making it more than just a district auditorium. I mean, when it's all said and done, we're going to have two pretty decent auditoriums at our high school. Can it accommodate 1,400? No, but they're both going to be pretty good qualities for most of our productions. I would much rather see us have a smaller house and have a much stronger program for the arts, not just have a big, nice auditorium that is only used a few times a year versus having actual arts programs that are benefiting our students every day. So that's my main concern and my main reason for going to the table is so that we can look at that further to see, is this the right design? Is this the right spot for that? If we can make it work here, that's fine, but I really would like us to look more at what we're building and how we're building the space.
But if we're not sure we can afford this, how can we afford an expansion?
Well, not necessarily an expansion, I'm saying you could even shrink the house some and expand on the classroom side so we have more options for art-related classes.
When you close that house down, you're just making a smaller unit. When you build smaller chops, the price goes up, not down.
Mr. Brown.
But it's a good thought. I understand what you're saying.
The original intent for this is to give all of these elementary and middle school students a place to have events where the parents can all show up to have an event. Not for the high schools to have another second auditorium. Yes, they have an auditorium, but all these elementaries, all they've got is a cafeteria, and that's all the middle schools have got, and Northside doesn't even have a stage. You can't, my child's gone to a number of them, you can't get into the auditoriums they have or the cafeteriums to even view your child in any kind of program that's in the school. That's the intent behind having a district-wide auditorium. Sure. Not so much for the high schools to have special program over and above what they have at their own auditorium.
But if we can accommodate a combination of those two, that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying that we shrink this thing down to a 500-seat auditorium by any stretch of imagination, because I've sat through plenty of Pine View performances where I'm cramped against the back wall, so I know exactly what you're saying. I'm saying if we have the opportunity to do something more than just an auditorium space, I would like for us to look at that and consider that. It may just be what's out of the budget, we can't do it, and that's fine. But I think we've got the opportunity now to look at that and design for that rather than coming back later and say, wow, I wish we had done this, this, and that. So,
well, how does tabling it accomplish that goal? If we don't have anywhere else to put it, then we've got to proceed with what we've got. That's what I don't follow. Well, let's just stop working on it. What's going to change?
for the board to actually look at potentially what's going on in the Greenville area that Kevin and I saw that we thought would be appropriate for us to consider some type of program similar to that, so that we can actually give input to Todd and them from a design standpoint
Madam Chair, I'm gonna call point of order. I don't think a motion to the table is debatable. And we've debated it enough that I think that we either vote on it and y'all put it down or vote it up, but I mean.
Okay. Have a motion and I have a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
No.
Go to abstain. Are y'all voting?
No.
No. So the motion does not carry. Okay. All right. Continue.
And Madam Chair, if I may, I wasn't trying to create dissension or cause any problems. Basically, we're just, when we talked about looking at other locations, what we've determined is that one of the locations recently sold. And it sold for an amount of money that we could in no way afford to pay. It was over $3 million. And obviously, ideally, I would like to have at least 16 acres to do this. We've got about 12 here. It's tight, but it does give us what we need, and we would have to pay extra for the underground detention to get the parking spaces that we need. It's just that, you know, in order for me at this point to go out and really start negotiating seriously with folks, I got to know that we're going to go somewhere else. And I just need direction from you guys that we're not going to do it here and we need to go somewhere else. And if I've got that for sure, then I have no problem approaching folks and trying to work deals. But if I go to work deals, then it's hard to back up, especially if I try to buy property anonymously.
I guess, and my point of doing that, the last time we discussed this was you were going to look and see what was available.
And we have.
And we have not gotten any feedback or information about any of that process. So the next thing we know, this is being presented as a recommendation, and we haven't discussed it. So I'm not adamantly opposed to having it decide on. I don't want y'all to misunderstand that. I do want to make sure our design is correct. I understand we probably have time to tweak and change, adjust, and move along. But we haven't had any input, any feedback about the search for a potential other spot when we were discussing that last time.
Okay,
If you go to the second story, Brad, if this went to the second story on these storage areas there, would it accommodate what you saw in Greenville?
Probably so.
And so maybe we could look at that and see how much that would add to the cost of the structure and see if we couldn't accommodate everybody's wishes for this piece of property.
For the same amount of money.
Mr. Eisenhower, isn't this in city limits of West Columbia or is it city limits of Springdale?
This is right on the border. You've got the West Columbia sign. If you're going toward Springdale from here, there's a Springdale sign on the right before you get to this location. If you're coming from Springdale in the other direction, there's a West Columbia sign just before you get to this facility.
Which one is
that?
It's West
I think
Columbia.
it's West Columbia.
Tail line is the median of the road there.
And that's another reason I would ask, well, nobody's made a motion even approving here, so I guess I'll stop, but I'm not so sure I'm ready to vote to put it right now, but we have some questions about additional building costs and expenses.
Well, we don't know Madam Chair, we don't know exactly how much money we have to work with. The possibilities of going to a second levy gives us some kind of an option to work forward. I don't think we have an option for ground because I don't think you're going to find it available at the price we can afford. I know that offer number one is gone. So, I don't want us to hold up the process.
I don't either.
Well, we have 3 years to accomplish this. It's just that, again, I'm trying to figure out because I know there was some division in the board. I'm just trying to figure out, is this what you want, or do you want us to look elsewhere? That's all I need.
We'll table that, so that's, you're going to go to the site, but if we can accomplish what you saw with it going high, I'd like for Todd to work on that and bring us the figures or whatever we need to make decisions, further make decisions.
Because we could two-story the backside over the two big
Classrooms.
classes there and have the other engineering classes, architect classes that we've seen in Greenville.
There'll be
these.
Okay. We did not table it, but I do think that we need for you to bring us a little bit more information before we actually sign off on all of this. Okay? We seem to be, there's just a little too much confusion.
But can we not at this point continue with this design and
If we have, I don't have a motion, I'm fine with that, I just need a motion on
All
that.
right, I'll make a motion that we continue with the development of this design on this site.
and a second?
I have a motion, I have a second, to have any discussion? All in favor say aye. Opposed?
No.
Motion carries. All right, next, we're going to move on to, we're going to omit item G tonight and move on to item H, which is consideration of schematics for Brooklyn Casey High School auditorium.
All right. Thank you, Madam Chair. Wanted to bring you guys up to speed on where we are with the design of the renovation of the auditorium at BC. And this is just a quick sketch of the auditorium itself. So State Street runs up and down the right-hand side of the drawing here. This light colored area is the auditorium. We'll be totally transforming that space with new AV and lighting systems, a very much state-of-the-art type production lighting, as well as stage rigging. New seating throughout. We will create a lobby area outside within the area of the existing overhang, but this now becomes inside space, which is currently outside space. We'll extend the patio out front and create steps down to the existing sidewalk, which is located in this area. The house will seat approximately 450 people. That's a bit less than it is now, but if you've been in there, you can understand why. So we'll be able to sit comfortably in the chairs and get in and out of the aisleways. In addition to total renovation of the auditorium house, we'll also modify the area at the back of the stage to include a set design type space and new dressing rooms, and each of the dressing rooms will have toilets. In addition, the area that's located here now, which is currently the nurses area, we'll create a nurse's office and ADA accessible toilet within that nurse's area, which they currently do not have. So we'll make that part of the renovation. We've met with OSF and we have an interpretation ruling from the director at OSF, and what we'll have to do is fire sprinkle from the fire separation wall at the north wing, which is located right here, all the way down to the fire separation wall, which is at the south wing. So this entire building, which is part of the original 1931 edition, original building at BC, and a 1958 edition, will all be fire sprinkled. So it'll be much safer, from a life safety standpoint, to have that fire sprinkler system installed. One other thing that we're doing as part of this project will be the renovation, complete renovation, gut and redo of the toilet facilities on the north wing, first floor and second floor. And again, making these restrooms ADA accessible, as well as replacing the mechanical units in the north wing. And that will be part of the auditorium north wing renovation project that will group with the science and technology project in an effort to get better pricing. And then we'll put that back out for bids mid-May. So hopefully in June, at the June meeting, we'll be able to discuss a GMP that'll be within the overall budget of the money remaining at Brooklyn Casey.
Madam Chair, the administration recommends approval of the schematics as presented.
Have a motion?
Motion to approve schematics as presented by administration.
A motion, do I have a second? A second, any discussion?
Question. Or did you go back?
Sorry.
The restrooms that you're renovating, isn't that across from the media center? Were
It
those
is.
restrooms renovated when that media center went in? They weren't touched at all?
They were not. And Ms. Kessler, if you go in this space right here,
Yes, that used to be the old janitor's area
yeah, it's, yeah, nothing's been done to that since
at all.
early 70s, yeah.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
So I know on the original stuff that you guys were looking at was going to include some of the courtyard, using that for space. Can you tell us kind of what happened there? Was it OSF situation or what?
Well, it was partly code issues and figuring out how to separate that. You know, anytime you take a new building, new addition next to it, an existing building, you have to separate the building. So it really, it was just a very complex sort of arrangement, from constructability issues to budget issues to life safety code issues. So it's a combination of all three of those. We felt like this is a more prudent approach.
It's just a huge loss of space that I know is going to be for sets and that kind of stuff that it's unfortunately very unusable space for the most part now. So
Correct. And we were hoping, Brad, that this space, the renovation of this space, you know, really takes the place of what we were going to do there. So it's almost the same size, and certainly, you know, the same type of functions will take place in that.
The, I assume, or ADA accessibility to the stage now is through that room, or we still got to have the little lifts?
We'll still add a lift right here, Bill. So anybody in the house, if a person who can walk up the steps can get to the stage, someone in a wheelchair has to be able to have the same opportunity. So what we're proposing is a lift, and it'll be located in this area. Now, it will likely be located behind the wall, so it's not really in the house. It's really a part of this area. So it doesn't impact the appearance of the proscenium opening at all. It'll take place behind, you know, behind this wall. Here's the proscenium opening, so it takes place behind.
All right, the lighting systems for stage lighting and whatnot,
Right.
they're going to be some overhead of the stage, and I assume they're going to be some out front.
Correct.
Are you trying to do catwalks, or they're going to have to pull it up and down?
They'll be on a winch, so you'll be able to lower them down. They're all LED, state-of-the-art, self-directing. I mean, it has some really cool, you know, opportunities for students to learn, you know, how to adjust lights, you know, from a wireless sort of iPad, and really some neat, innovative sorts of lighting.
Sound control and lighting control will be.
So there will be a board right here, and much like is stored in that area now, but that's a very antiquated sort of soundboard. We'll have a new state-of-the-art soundboard, and it'll be located at the back of the auditorium. You'll also have the ability to, you know, to have some sound control at the stage. There'll be 10 or so mics, you know, some handheld, some wireless. It'll be a combination, but it'll be a first-class sort of sound and lighting system.
So your lighting will be controlled from the same area as the soundboard?
Yes. And then we'll still have above this area, you know, a spotlight and projector or projector screens.
It's a nice room.
estimated construction time?
So Thompson Turner's not here tonight, but we're still going through all of this, but we anticipate starting in at the end of June, you know, right after 4th of July at the latest, and hopefully, you know, be complete by the end of the calendar year. Now, they'll have to confirm that, but that's the thought process now.
Potentially would be usable by spring production.
Certainly by the spring.
Spring production kind of thing.
Any other discussion? We have a motion and a second, so all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have consideration of colors and color patterns for Brooklyn Casey High School arena.
I'd like to introduce again Lauren Fabian, who heads up our interiors department, and she'll share the colors that we've been talking about for the BC High School arena.
Hi everyone. So we'll start with the terrazzo patterns, which are kind of tonal grays and then the garnet. That terrazzo goes from the top right all the way towards
I'm following.
okay, towards the double doors, and then it will transfer to LVT, which has coordinating colors to all of the terrazzo. From there, we'll go inside the gymnasium, and we have, once again, tonal wood colors that will mimic what the Big Ten schools are doing now in their new gymnasiums. So 2 different colors of the stains to the same wood. Then the bleacher color will be the garnet, and then when they're closed, the BC will be in black. We also have some acoustic panels above that will be gray and garnet.
And that'll be throughout the main gymnasium, at the top of the wall.
Restrooms, we have porcelain tile that will be mainly this lighter gray with a dark grout, and then some accent stripes of the garnet and black. Ceramic wall tile will be in those restrooms. There's black partitions, and the sinks are gray. So weight room flooring will be very durable for dropping those weights, and also resilient for any type of agility work that they do in there. So this will be tonal as well. Moving on, we have the...
Can I ask a question right there?
Yes.
Well, I thought what we approved was turf in that weight room.
Turf on the outside, it's going outside.
So we've had a lot of discussion about that, and I think the turf on the outside is what was most recently discussed and approved. So, you know, whether the turf's on the inside of the, you know, it's kind of
What's the school request?
either or.
Well, I requested turf.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's right.
I just, from what I understood when we talked before, that whatever specific flooring was what was in the GMP that we already approved.
Well, the rubber floor and the turf are very comparable in cost, so it doesn't really, you know, it's not a cost issue.
Durability.
Either or. It could be a durability issue. I mean, I really think it's you know, preference of school board,
Sure.
administration, coaching staff. You know, it's,
Which is going to last longer.
well, you know, the life expectancy of the rubber floor would probably be longer than that.
Can you
What
show
the
the
purpose
area?
of the turf, though, to be able to do like agility drills and stuff in that weight room? I mean,
It is. So in the center of the weight room, there was indicated a piece of turf field similar to what the playing surface at the stadium is. It doesn't have the rubber pellets.
About 700 square feet, that area.
That was not included, it wasn't in the original plan for the turf to be in.
What we had is we have, and as we do this in a lot of projects, we have a flooring allowance. And I'll just tell you that, the conversation basically has been that, a lot of it, I guess, stemmed from me, and that I see no reason to duplicate that in both places. So basically, I talked to the coaches and at both Brooklyn Casey and at Airport, and I basically said, would you prefer to have this turf on the inside of the weight room, or would you rather have it on the outside of the weight room? And I've given both schools that option. And at this point, both schools have chosen to put it on the outside.
Did the schools choose that, or that was, y'all, like your office's decision?
Where on the outside, when you say outside of weight room, what are you talking about? Like,
Yeah, so
just
there,
outside?
yeah, there's an area right outside of the weight room, and it's about 20 feet from here to the sidewalk, so that we'll grade that area and create an outside area that has turf.
So that's right, so that you'll have some turf outside for them to do stuff right next to the roll-up doors or whatever, so the roll, okay. But Don, I guess I don't understand why you said you have to duplicate at both areas, because we haven't really been doing that. Like when we just redid the Eagles Menace, we went with some really great, I love what we've done. I think we did a great job there. And we did like college style lockers and some other things, and we didn't try to duplicate what we had already built at the other stadium and then go back in and put those lockers over there. It's just, I think what we'd like to see is whatever new facility we build at either high school, I think needs to be built up to the most up-to-date type standard. And then later on, if we need to bring the other one along, later on bring the other one along. But there's no way you're ever going to have exactly equal for BC and Airport in terms of facilities. They have to be equal.
I agree.
They have to be equal. So that was just with what you just said about having to duplicate it both places. I mean, to me,
No.
if Mr. Burnett wants to do turf outside or inside, whatever he wants, I don't know that necessarily BC has to do it exactly that way, or that he has to do it exactly BC's way. I don't understand that they would have to agree.
Duplication was at BC High School. I didn't see the need to put turf inside and outside. I mean, to me, if you're going to do the drills, you're either going to do them inside or you're going to do them outside. So that was the choice that I gave that school. And equity and fairness to both schools, because we just did the weight room at Airport as well. I've gone back and talked to the school about whether or not they would like to have this kind of space outside of their weight room, and they've indicated that they would. Now, we haven't brought that to you for consideration, but that is something that, we've talked about trying to design in as well. There will be some more challenges there because of the top of the topo. But that's our thought. It was not duplicating at both schools. It was not seeing the need to put it inside and outside.
Well, in the purpose of having it, some of it at least inside, because you could do the drills when it's pouring rain outside. Isn't that kind of maybe the purpose? I mean, I don't know. I'm not in these meetings, but I would think that would kind of maybe be the purpose.
I mean, you've got a gym that's next door. You've still got the space in the center if they don't use it for equipment. I mean, it's a rubberized floor. They could still do the drills that they want to do. And what I was told was they were looking at putting boxes for plyometrics in the center. And if that's the case, then I see no need to put turf in there when again, it would make better sense to use it outside where that it would be used specifically for doing drills. I mean, if they're putting boxes in the center anyway, they can't do drills in there.
I didn't know. I don't know. I'm just asking because I know we talked about flooring at last whatever meeting we did.
The rubber floor you're talking about putting in, is it a solid floor or is it going to be a tile type floor like what's the airport? So it will have the grooves between each tile?
But so against each
So
other.
the ones at the airport have the grooves, they have to hand vacuum every groove to get the dirt out of these.
These do not have grooves.
These would be solid.
They are tile,
Your tile, but no roof.
no grooves.
So individual tiles that can be pulled up and replaced if one were damaged or.
Chair, I make a motion that we approve the colors and color patterns for both the Casey High School and
Second. I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? I have a question. I honestly, I can't see. What, is that BC? Is it B? All right, there, but on the circles.
Yeah, so in the middle, there's BC lettering, and it's in black, so that, and it is difficult to see. But that's part of the terrazzo pattern.
Okay, do we have the paw anywhere else?
We do not. We talked about having it elsewhere, but
We will also have, we have an allowance for wall graphics, so there will be large wall graphics in the weight room, the gymnasium. We have moved the paw print, removed the paw print from the terrazzo, so there is opportunity to put it on the wall out in that lobby area.
Okay. So where was it? Where did you have it?
It was with the paw print.
it was right here.
And so there's a trophy case to the left of that area. And above that, there will be room to put it on the wall if we would prefer.
And part of our philosophy on that is that basically mascot, not the mascot itself, but the designs change from coach to coach and administrator to administrator. And putting something in a terrazzo floor could very easily date a facility. So our thought process everywhere has been to avoid doing that, put it on the wall, put it in the center of the gym floor, where it could be changed very easily.
Well, I was just about to bring up that, when you're bringing that up, I mean, I don't know if we need a committee or what, but I really would like a committee or something with some board members on the committee and because if you're going to put a BC in, there's about 25 million Bs and Cs out there too. I mean, the one thing that's consistent about the entire drawing is the Bearcat ball. I don't think that Bearcat ball's changed in 30 years, but the Bs and the Cs are changing every day. And quite frankly, I mean, I hate to make anything look dated, and I'm all for like, because official decision to change a brand or whatever, but I mean, both airport and BC, I always would like us to see about potentially, and I'm not saying we would have to do that, but there's one board member, let's look at what Bs and what Cs are we going to use, what As are we going to use.
And that's exactly what we're talking about. I mean, it will change.
We need to make a policy on that. We need to make a policy on what's going to be used so that it's universal and from now on. That's my point. We've got stakeholders, but unfortunately, we're letting the people that are not really long stakeholders make decisions that affect our district forever and ever. When I started teaching at Brooklyn Casey, we had the Bearcat head. And then we have a football coach that comes in and changes it. And then we'll have a baseball coach that comes in and changes it. There's got to be something that's steady, uniform, so we can stop the problems that happen with the letters. Same thing as Beth has said, and everybody else, well, several other people have do. We have got to be consistent. If we do this, there's got to be a change of command to allow somebody to just whimsically change a logo.
Well, another way to approach it too would be to take it out of the floor and just do some neat colors in there and then just.
No, I want BC. I like, you need to have a B and C in it, but we just need to decide.
I was just asking if that was the only place we had paw. I like
Coaches
paw.
and people come and go, but that school's going to be there.
Right.
We need
Paul,
something
I know for
consistent.
sure has been there for 47 years.
Yeah, it's been
Paul
there.
has been there for 47 years.
No.
I'm just concerned about what B and what C are looking for.
So I think certainly if you guys want to do a committee, we've got time to do that. If we could get approval on the other colors and the terrazzo pattern can come later, I think that's good. So we, that's.
Okay.
we can
Well, I'd like to
have-
volunteer to be on that committee for the Bs and the Cs and.
We have a motion and a second for the colors. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. It is, it's gorgeous. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tommy.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Mr. Bingham.
I was going to point out with regard to logos and all that stuff, anything over time, you generally will evolve these logos. So, okay, yeah, that paw has been there 40 years, and it might still be a paw, but it might change, the graphic styles change, and people do things a little differently to update it. So you don't look at things, you look at those, you don't change it drastically, but you make subtle changes that improve and bring it more up to today's standards and graphics.
Our American flag hasn't changed, thank God. And I don't think we're going to have
And
more
storage,
states.
would we have, Mr. Six, I agree with his opinion, but we desperately need something uniform.
Okay.
Mr. Six, can we get a copy of that? I've looked through all of my drawings, and I don't have a floor plan that I can really make any heads and tails of. Can we get something on that? Thank you.
Okay, next item on the agenda is
Thank you.
item J. Thank you, Todd. Is consideration of requests for out-of-state or overnight student travel, and Jim, you can just sit, and I'll turn it over to Ms. Brown.
Motion to approve and ratify the out-of-state student travel.
Have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Bingham, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Next, we're going to move on to administrative divisional report.
Some of these things that we are having to ratify should not have to be ratified because they're on schedules. We need to make sure that coaches, people, personnel are getting the stuff in on time.
Yes, ma'am.
Whether ratified for the safety of the children on these trips and for everything else, if anything ever happens, so that we know that they're going to recover.
All right, next we have administrative divisional reports. The first one is the superintendent, and I'll turn that over to Dr. Jones.
Yes, ma'am. You received a copy of the preliminary report from our advanced ed visit. In Marcella's words, it's absolutely outstanding. Lexington 2 ended up accumulating 376 out of the possible 400 points. This time, that's the highest score of any school district using the new instrument. In addition to that, there are 31 standards that the district is rated on. 26 of those 31 this district received and exceeds expectation. On the other 5, they had a met expectation. The district was cited for 4 powerful practices that go on. Those are in your package. If you look at the comparison between 2013 and 2018, there is no area that this district did not grow in. Put real simply, like Marcella says down here, our folks did an outstanding job. I don't want to read the report to you, but it is extremely impressive. We want to make sure that Dawn gets this out because every school was well represented, and 26 out of 31 exceeds, and 376 points out of 400 is just about as good as you can possibly get. I don't know if you've had an opportunity to read through it. If you got a question about it, Marcella and I will be glad to try to answer that. But I do think the board needs to be exceptionally proud. Marcella, thank you.
The next item is instruction, and we will turn it back over to Marcella.
Yes, ma'am. Madam Chair, members of the board. When we had our board workshop, we had several questions or pieces of information that we were requested to respond to, so we figured we'd just start for a board meeting trying to tackle some of those questions or comments. One of the questions that we received was what accommodations do we provide for underperforming segments of our student population? What can we do differently or better to better serve the underperforming students while not hindering our higher performing students? And that's what we're going to discuss tonight, how do we respond to those needs. So, collaboration with our community, this is our mission statement. We want to empower all, and we do want to emphasize all of our students to achieve at their highest potential. And we do know that we have students who, on various ends of the spectrum, from some students who are struggling learners, and we've identified those students who have been identified with special needs, as well as our advanced and gifted learners. Mr. Burgraff put this presentation together with these graphics, and he thought of the bridge. And he said, think about the children on one side of the bridge and trying to get to the other side of the bridge. In the middle, that's our curriculum. That's what's holding our kids together. And how do we get from one side, how do we get our kids from one side to the other, to those learning targets? So the first thing we want to talk about is our response to intervention. Now, in my absence last month, and we did not repeat this for you all because you already have a copy, but this is our formal Lexington 2 response to intervention framework for kindergarten and 5th grade, and I'll talk about secondary in a few. But we do have a formalized plan. We have used the State Department's RTI, or they call it the Intervention Guidance Document, to develop Lexington 2's document. We've had this document a few years, but we actually had a committee where Emily Todd and some other folks from the district staff refined or revitalized this document last year to ensure we were meeting the needs of all of our learners. So it's not like it was something we developed 5 years ago, put it on the shelf and never looked at it again. We constantly look at this to ensure, one, that everyone understands the language of RTI, what we're expecting, the roles and responsibilities. It even outlines what district leadership should be doing here. So this document keeps us all on the same page in terms of supporting our learners. So when we talk about RTI Tier 1, that's our core instruction. And really to address the question, before we can service our children with additional services, the first thing we need to do is ensure our core is right. Because if our core is right, we wouldn't have to do so much servicing. We would be accommodating. And research will tell you if you have a guaranteed and viable core, you should be meeting the needs of 80% of your learners. In terms of kids who need extra services, that should be in the 20% range. So when looking at that bridge, you do have students who do fall into what we call RTI 2 or Tier 2 services, and you add extra support to the bridge. And so we've done that. In our elementary framework, our kids are required, or we require 120 minutes of ELA instruction. The state requires 90 minutes. We have put in an extra 30 minutes. We use those extra 30 minutes for our RTI Tier 2 instruction. For students who need additional services, there's a Tier 3. If a child is 1 grade level or 2 grade levels above, or 2 grade levels behind, I should say, they fall into Tier 3. But we have to service them in Tier 1 first. Then you move them to Tier 2 and give them services. And then if they move to Tier 3, we have to give them highly intense services with a highly qualified staff. Now, we're still working on that highly qualified staff piece because that is a funding matter, but we do have folks in place who are servicing our kids in Tier 3. So before we can decide who we have to serve, at the beginning of each year, we provide what is called a universal screener, where we screen all of our kids to determine who falls in that 20%. And so we don't take one list from one year to the other. We screen all of our kids every year because we know that needs change, and we get new students. And there's some other data elements there, but I'm not going to go into that. But we do want you to know that we do universal screen all of our kids each year. We put this slide in to let you know we do have this framework for elementary according to our strategic plan, and that's the document from our strategic plan. We have plans in place to provide a formal document for secondary. And I will talk about secondary shortly. Our secondary schools do provide services for the children, but there is no formalized plan. So it's kind of, one school does one thing, one school does another. We are working to bring all of that together, but we do want you to know, like at Busby Creative Arts Academy, they call it Bulldog Breakout. And the kids meet in Bulldog Breakout. Your child may need assistance in math, they may need assistance in reading, they may need acceleration in math, or they may need acceleration in reading. It just depends, and I can tell you from a parent perspective that it changes from week to week. So a child doesn't go to the same thing every time, every day. At Airport, it's called E-Block. At BC High School, it's called SWATs. At Pine Ridge, it's called STINGS. Advisory and Lunch Learning Center at Fulmer, and the Academic Blitz at Northside Middle School. Again, these are school-level interventions that have been put in place. They have not gone through a formal structure at the district level. So when the question was posed, it was stated that, that we are providing services for our English language learners, our gifted learners, and our special education learners. And we can go into more detail about that if you do have questions. And of course, you know that we have various models whereby we serve our English language learners, our gifted learners, and our special education learners. I'm not going to go into detail about that tonight unless you have specific questions. But what I want to do is address what else we're doing. Okay. So I'm not going to read all of this to you, but I just want to point out that we do have 17% of our population, or 1,532 kids, who are not native English speakers in Lexington School District 2. And 1,149 of those kids are receiving direct English language services. And for your pleasure reading, you can understand how we're supporting those English language learners as well as how we're supporting the teachers of the English language learners. We have approximately 1,200 gifted kids, but this does not include our AP kids. And at the high school, if a gifted child takes AP, they're coded as AP. So we don't have those gifted kids who are taking AP classes in that number of 1,200. I just want to point that out. But we do offer gifted services, and we have provided here a synopsis of what we're doing for our gifted children. As well as the gifted teachers. And so in special ed, as of today, this count, we had about 1,421 kids, or 16% of our population, of children who identify or receive services for special ed education. And in your package, you have information on how we support those children. Yes.
How does that 16% compare to other districts?
That's a great question. The last time I looked at it, Mr. Bingham, I looked at it only for surrounding areas, and it ranged anywhere from like 11% to about 18%.
So we're on the higher end?
We were on the higher end, yes. So then the question becomes, what else are we doing? And I do want to reiterate, we have got to take care of the core. And when we provided to you all a presentation regarding our test scores, I did make the statement that we have implemented Lucy Calkins' writing curriculum and reading curriculum. That has been met with resistance, I'll be honest with you, because it is different, it is changed, it's very guided, and folks don't care for it that much. But for those who are using it and using it with fidelity, we are seeing growth in leaps and bounds. And so we've kind of stuck to our guns. We're trying to continue to provide support to the teachers so they become comfortable. And anytime you do something new, it's just different. Change is hard. But we felt it was a necessity, especially with what we're facing with Read to Succeed. We did a lot of research. We looked across the state. We looked across the nation. Ms. Jones Storks was very instrumental in helping us provide that curriculum to our teachers. For example, this coming on the 25th, we're working with all of our second grade teachers to provide additional support with that curriculum, but we feel like we need to keep it and keep it in place and implement it with fidelity, because we are very cognizant of what we're facing with Read to Succeed and ensuring that our children are reading on grade level by the time they exit third grade. Because you are aware that this is the year, the big retention year, if kids are not successful on that SC Ready test. So in addition to Tier 2 and Tier 3, we wanted to make you aware, we don't think we have formally announced this, but last year, Mr. Platt spearheaded for us because he has experience with grant writing, the 21st Century Grant. We applied very aggressively for 3 grants, not expecting to get all 3. When the notification came to Dr. James and he forwarded it to us, we got all 3. That was $600,000 worth of grants that we received back in July. We are servicing, I'm not sure if you're aware, about 300 kids after school every day until 5:30 as a result of this grant. Mr. Platt has to hit the submit button tomorrow to resubmit, because we can get that $600,000 for up to 4 years. So we met with the principals, we met with the teachers, it's been a growing pain that first year. We've learned a lot, but we have the commitment from the principals as well as our site coordinators. Let's give it a try for year 2. So in addition to Tier 2 and Tier 3 services, we are also servicing 300 children every day after school until 5 o'clock.
What do they do there during that time period?
You want to talk about that?
There's a wide variety of things, but there's homework support and tutoring, there's academic lessons, but there's also enrichment activities, art, music, all kinds of things.
So it's not just a daycare?
No, it's definitely not a daycare.
All right, a little different.
And we have to use data to qualify the kids.
Yeah, targeting
to be in.
kids is
Yes.
targeting.
Is that, how are they targeted, by a teacher, by principal, by scores?
It's site-based, like a lot of our schools selected those 2nd and 3rd graders because of Right to Succeed. So it just depends on the needs of the school. But like Seawick, they don't have the 2nd and 3rd grade levels to contend with, so they target it different. Okay? Riverbank Elementary has agreed to come aboard next year with this grant, and so at this point in time, all of our elementary schools, with the exception of Springdale, will be serviced next year with the grant. Springdale does not qualify because they're not Title I. We also want to bring to your attention, of course, we offer the reading summer camps. We have extended to our 2nd and 3rd graders. We have 230 2nd and 3rd graders we have offered a summer reading camp to for this coming summer. Now, we're not saying by any means that we have 200 kids that we're concerned about. I'm going to use Ms. Jones Stork's language. We have cast a very wide net. We figure we go deeper and offer more kids than we feel need the service, but it's just a safety net for us. At this point in time, I think we've had a commitment from about 130 children. So we'll see how that goes. Camp Gigi, of course, is our camp for our kids with special needs. We have an ESOL camp we'll be expanding this year to service about 120 children. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Countdown to Kindergarten, but we pride ourselves in Lexington School District 2. This is monies we received from First Steps. Morgan and I went to a meeting back in January, and of the 200 students that were serviced in Countdown to Kindergarten last summer, 100 of those kids came from Lexington 2. And what that is a commitment from our teachers to service the kids who are leaving from 4-year-old and going into kindergarten during the summer. The teachers commit to go 10 times into the kids' homes throughout the summertime to build a relationship. So once I get my roster, if I give it to Mr. Eisenhower, he has 20 kids, he selects 10 kids that he will service during the summer, and that gives him an opportunity to provide a jump start with those 10 children. And we qualified for a grant this year that Ms. Richardson helped Ms. Wiley to write. We are going to offer to 60 of our current 4-year-old kindergarten extended school year. So we will service them for an additional 6 weeks this year. So those are some other ways that we're meeting the needs of our underperforming learners. At this point in time, I will entertain any questions you may have.
I do have a couple.
Okay.
So I'm going to ask about this stuff. So I really appreciate the information, and I know that we are doing a tremendous amount for our kids. Here's my concern. Here's what I hear from some of teachers that I'm friends with, my wife's a teacher, is you take your standard class, and they're on such broad different levels from a reading standpoint, you know, this level, that level, this level,
Right.
is you're spending time trying to help the lower performers. You know, higher performers are getting their gifted and talented, lower performers are getting their services. You got a big chunk in the middle that we probably could really push harder, higher, but the teachers being pulled this direction because of academic issues, behavioral issues that we know are growing and are challenging our schools right now. We've got that big middle chunk of kids that kind of are just, they're performing, but they're probably not performing the way that they could if the teacher had the time to really spend with them and bring them up. I know it's not politically correct, but I know back in the day when we were in school, the classes were much more separated by ability.
Right.
So if you've got a teacher and she knows she's got all level 4s, well, she can teach to all those level 4s and probably do a better job of pulling those 4s up to their next level, rather than I'm trying to figure out level 4, I'm trying to figure out level 10 and level 18. And I understand differentiated instruction.
Right.
I know that's what we all want to talk about and hear about. I just question, is that actually does that actually work in our classrooms versus going back to actually having groups of kids that are on similar levels and having a teacher that is teaching strictly to them at their level to move them up, and have another teacher that's working with kids at a different level. And that's the part that I'm asking about. And I know it's frustrating from a teacher standpoint. Of course, I mean, you know, I hear it, so, but I hear it from other teachers, and it's exhausting. I know the teachers too, and they get frustrated because they're not seeing successes with some of them. Well, I know we can't save them all, certainly, but
they can't save them all, and that's their frustration.
So-
They can't save them all.
Right, so that's a fair question. So let's talk about differentiation. You know that you can differentiate through content, through product, and through process. It's a very complex theory, I guess, and it's not easy to do. But where we do it, we do have some teachers who do well, and we have some teachers who really give it a great attempt, but it's really, really hard. So we've been working with individual principals in schools where they're finding that it's very, very hard to do what's called stratified grouping. And it doesn't necessarily go to the left where you are homogeneously grouping, and it may not be to the right where you're heterogeneously grouping. But when you stratify group, you have some, for example, some high learners and maybe some average learners. It makes it easier to close that gap. And then you may have some struggling learners and maybe some average learners, but they're having a hard time when you have the struggling to the advanced. So that's what we're working towards.
That's what I'm asking about,
Yeah.
and I understand from a theory standpoint. I'm saying, is it working what we're doing right now? Because I know a lot of our classrooms, they've got the gamut that they're trying to work with.
We're trying to work to more towards the stratified grouping where you don't have such a wide gamut.
Okay.
But that's working with, every school's at a different level, if that should make sense, but where the folks have reached out and said, we need help, that's what we're kind of saying. When you set your classes, look at a stratified model.
My other concern, this is a little bit unrelated, but it's similar, is from a teacher distraction standpoint. And I know we discussed expanding, at our alternative location, of giving us some more capacity, because we plainly just got some behavioral issues in some of our classrooms that it's a complete distraction. The teacher's spending way too much time with a child because of a behavioral issue versus, and now you got the rest of the classroom that's suffering because of that. So I just want to make sure going forward, when we're looking at pair and doing our curriculum and stuff, we need to add some capacity there. So.
And we agree with you, and it actually delighted us to hear you all say we want you to look at that, because we do think that there needs to be some type of transition. Instead of going from point A to point Z, not all kids need point A to point Z, they need to stop at M or P. And we welcome the opportunity to talk with you more about putting some type of transition model into place. As soon as we get that space availability in.
We've been talking about this for a long, long time, and we've got to make some action. We just can't continue to talk about it.
Yes, and I think that Mr. Hinton has been doing some research on suggestions for pair.
And Ms. Hall has a plan already.
Good, I look forward to hearing that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Marcel.
Any other questions about supporting our learners? Okay, and so the next portion that I have, we've talked about this several times at former board meetings with regards to OASIS expansion. And in February, I think when we discussed it, we thank you all for the approval to expand. We did ask us to go back to look to make sure we were selecting the right site. So we looked at Congaree, we looked at Wood, we looked at Springdale, and we still consider Casey. So at Congaree, you need 3 dedicated spaces eventually to expand OASIS. We really don't have space availability at Congaree. And another reason we kind of eliminated Congaree is because we support them with their AVID model. So they have an opportunity, if folks are interested in that, to draw focus there. Wood, I will tell you, sat in the audience and heard you all say, go back and look. They went back and did their research and wrote a formalized letter to myself and Dr. James and asked us to please consider putting OASIS at Wood. We did look at that, but if you recall, we spend funds and we support Wood with Project Lead the Way launch, and they had a dedicated STEM lab and a dedicated STEM teacher to go with it. So they have a formalized model as well that they're receiving support with. So then you look, and also historically, in terms of OASIS, you don't get many kids from Wood that apply for OASIS. Like last year, we only had one child who was even interested in the model. So we looked at Springdale, which was a viable option. Mr. Eisenhower said that eventually Springdale will have some room, but when I looked at their school choice, historically, they have a high number of kids who request to go to Springdale even without a specialized model. They get a lot of school choice. So which took us back to Casey. We do have the space at Casey. Historically, we have the most applicants from Casey for OASIS. And I also looked at the number of special needs children that Casey serves just by the nature of the services that we have to offer. And I think, in all fairness to Casey Elementary, we probably need to provide some balance for that site. So the administration still recommends expansion for OASIS at Casey Elementary.
Thank you for looking into that. I think I asked you to look into that. I appreciate it. And there's been good, detailed, thought out reasoning with it. I appreciate you looking into it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Finished? Yes, sir. All right, thank you so much. All right, next, we will move on to finance, and I'll turn it over to Ms. Richardson.
Good evening, and thank you. I have first the monthly financial reports for March, the revenue. Property taxes are trending as they should be, as projected. We are down slightly on vehicles, but we wait and see what the rest of the year brings for that. It's not down that much, but it's down a little bit. We are still down on our EFA revenue as a result of our decrease in student enrollment slightly this year. But once we get the 135-day final numbers in and they readjust the numbers, we'll see what that looks like. Happy to answer any questions on the revenue. Also, we have the expenditures. Glad to answer any questions you may have on expenditures also. And we have the referendum expenditures to date. I'll be happy to answer any questions on that. That's all for the financials.
Okay. Any questions? All right, if no objection, the financial report will stand approved as submitted. All right.
Next, just to update you on the budget, the Senate finished the budget last week, their version of the budget last week, which pretty much mirrored Senate Finance, which was what we presented at the budget work session. That was very different than the House, so now it goes back to the House. The House is looking, probably did that this week. I haven't heard any outcome if it's finalized yet, to amend that budget, which means they're different, and that will go to conference committee. Conference committee is supposed to be meeting next week. And the two main differences is that Senate does have a $60 base student cost increase included in their version and a 1% increase in the teacher salary schedule. Most other things are pretty much alike. There's some small variations. House has a 2% increase in the teacher salary schedule and no increase in the base student cost. So we'll wait and see what comes out of how the House amends it and what goes into conference committee. So we do plan,
Do you know if either the House or Senate versions, the 1% or the 2% are actually funded?
The House version with the 2% is going to be funded like EFA, which is a 70-30 split. The Senate's version with the 1% is state funded from the EIA portion. So that is the difference there, so. So hopefully when they meet next week, we will have a better idea and we'll be able to bring you a full budget at the May meeting for first reading.
So the House version really is like at 1.7%, but we're picking up about 30%, is that right? Is that my understanding? 70/30, 70 state, 30 district?
Yes, I mean, it'll be a 2% increase on the expenditure side, and we'll get a portion of that revenue back on that, so that we will incur that and if the House version stands. What we presented number-wise at the budget work session was based on the Senate finance version, which is the Senate was basically ended up being the Senate versions. So we'll wait and see. That's all we really have at this moment, at this point in time. So I'll be happy to answer any questions. Any questions? Thank you.
All right. Next, we'll move on to administrative and student services. We have a construction update. Turn it over to Mr. Eisenhill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We have with us tonight Mr. Bill Crown from NVCon, and out of respect for his time, I'll go ahead and let him address the board if any of you have questions. We put in our construction update that we were starting to have more and more concerns about the Cade Center, the Lexington 2 Innovation Center being behind on schedule. And I think we're at a point where that Mr. Cram indicated that he agrees that they're going to have to do some things in order to continue to meet that opening schedule. So, Mr. Cram, if you'd like to come up and just kind of give them an idea of your perspective on schedule, and then they may have some questions for you.
Good evening. Dr. James, Madam Chair, members of the board. Thank you, Don. I didn't realize I was actually on the agenda until I walked in tonight and picked it up, so I apologize for not having a formal presentation for you. But let me talk a little bit about where we are. Quite frankly, we have a hill to climb. We have a challenge ahead of us. There's no question about it. We knew from the outset of this project that the schedule was tight and that we needed pretty much everything to go like clockwork to make it happen. We had a little delay getting started with permits, which is unfortunately very typical in this day and age. Every jurisdiction we work in, we seem to run into that. We had all hoped for the warm, dry winter that was predicted last fall, the El Nino that was so widely predicted. I don't think I need to tell you what happened over the winter. We made very little progress from Christmas until early February. Despite these setbacks, we're still working toward opening this facility in August. We have updated our schedule based on a 6-day work week. We've been working 6 days a week pretty much from the outset, but that was predominantly trying to make up time for weather delays and other issues. We are now basing the schedule on a 6-day work week. We're currently averaging close to 100 people Monday through Friday and averaging the 50 to 60 range on Saturdays. We've also done some limited Sunday work, predominantly for cleanup and staging for work the following week. This updated schedule is as tight as can be. There is no float. Float is the term of the schedule we have when we start out to overcome unforeseen delays and weather delays. That's all gone. We don't have a day to waste. We're working closely with Jumper Car to Cease to make sure that we're being efficient in the materials and methods that we're employing. They've been a great team player, working with us to find ways to expedite the work. I was at the site for most of the day yesterday. We've assigned some additional staff. We met with all of our subs, and when I say we, it's NVCon and all the subcontractors working as a team to coordinate work activities and locations. We have everybody looking for creative solutions to expediting the work, whether it's second shift, whether it's breaking down areas differently to allow certain trades in one area, other trades in other areas. It requires a lot of coordination. To that end, we've had some supervision to guide the workflow and identify and resolve issues proactively and promptly. And frankly, we will likely incur some added expense for this added supervision. for overtime costs and acceleration. But the bottom line is this, we're working on an extremely tight timeline, but our goal remains the same, open this facility this August. And it's gonna take a lot of hard work, it's gonna take cooperation. We've been working closely with Don, with Barry Evans, and the district team as well. And it's a challenge, there's no question about it, but we are still working toward the goal of opening this facility in August. And I will be happy to answer any questions you have.
Any questions? Mr. Johnson?
So obviously, I know that's everybody's goal. I guess, at what point do you guys tell us we're not gonna make it? Because we've got to accommodate, from a instructional standpoint, from a facility standpoint, whatnot. I'm not saying you can't. I hope you can. I hope you have great weather, everything goes great. But at what point do we get the red flag saying we're not gonna make it so that we can plan for it?
As for our meeting yesterday with the subcontractors, they asked a similar question. Were we still working till August? And we said absolutely, and they said fine, and we're with you. We have weekly progress meetings at the site with the subcontractors as well as with the owner and architect. And we update, I won't say we update the schedule weekly, but we certainly look at it weekly. We are tracking it on a daily basis to see where we are. And if this falls off the tracks where we can't complete it, we will certainly, we'll go through Don, we'll certainly let Mr. Eisenhower know.
My point being, we can't be July and say we're not gonna make it in August, and then these guys are scrambling trying to figure out what we're gonna do. So I know y'all in communication all the time. We just wanna make sure, I know it's a hard goal and I hope you make it, but if you don't think you're gonna make it at some point, we're just asking for consideration. So let us know so that we can adjust and accommodate.
Absolutely.
If I may add, it really is a delicate line, and the balance here is difficult because if at any point in time MCON indicates to those subs that they're not going to get, we're not going to open in August and we're not working toward that, then the other jobs that those subcontractors are working, they start focusing on the pressure that they're getting from those jobs and contractors. And, we've been discussing strategy for a while, and it is our goal before school is out to provide our students and staff with the best information that we will have at that time. And again, trying to be respectful of the fact that MDCON has a job to do, and we don't want to do anything that would hinder that ability to get that job done on time. So it is a very delicate, delivery here that we're having to deal with.
Thank you.
So you feel as of the 19th today that you will have us in that building within 90 days, considering it's going to be black in at this time right now?
Not in 90 days, but in time for opening of school, which is
About 90 days, 3 months, 3.5 months. You got May, June, July.
May, June, July, August. Based on the schedule we're working on right now, yes, sir. It's a hill to climb, no question. I know that you're cooperating with construction.
Mr. Baker?
So Don, are we planning, do we have any contingency plans?
We will have a contingency plan if necessary.
For what, I mean,
The short
even
answer.
if it's gonna be for 2 weeks, we're we gotta figure out something to do.
The short answer, Mr. Bingham, is do we have one detailed out, item by item? No. Do we have an overall umbrella? Yeah. Our intent in talking to Joni and Bernie is that we're going to start a CAPE Center this school year. They want us to move, get those kids together, even if we have to do some of the kinds of things like the OSHA, the safety, that sort of thing. But our hope is we're gonna move once. That was my concern the other day when Don and I talked to Mr. Graham, that we don't start moving kids and people and stuff and then have to move it again. But if school had to start tomorrow, will we have all the kinks? No, but we do have an overall umbrella that this is a possibility that, quite honestly, with no disrespect to Mr. Cram and the fact that I'm not a contractor, I'm concerned that that's a short amount of time, so we do have to think about that, yes.
I just think prudent planning says we're gonna work to finish it, but we still got to have something in the back pocket if something happens. We have a tornado that drops down and instead of hitting Lexington, it hits here.
I don't have a claim for that.
We will not let this district down with regard to an alternate plan.
I just want to thank you two gentlemen for at least bringing that to our attention and letting us know that y'all do have a plan. And I know that from a programming standpoint, we definitely want this Kate Center to just soar and take off. And I also know that probably one of the hardest things to build and program, because it's not like elementary school. We know we just need kindergarten classrooms, this classroom, and I think, you know, we have a lot of decisions from a district standpoint, programmatically of what we wanted to offer there, which, you know, we may have created some of that ourselves, but handed it over to you to build it. So I think we should all be more together. And, you know, once it gets built, it's going to soar. These guys are ready, and we appreciate it.
Any other questions? Thank you so much. Thank you.
I'm going to try to provide you with another handout. And as you know, last year we applied for Abbeville money, and we identified 3 projects that we wanted to try to address with that Abbeville money. That was approximately $1.2 million that we received in Abbeville funds. And our goal was to widen the road for fire truck access around Seawick Wood and Pine Ridge. And this was a requirement from the Office of School Facilities when we went in and remodeled those schools. The second thing was that we wanted to install a sprinkler system at Seawick. And again, that was part of the OSF requirements, and actually the state fire marshal required us to do that. So that's one of the projects that we're trying to get as well. And the last project that we had hoped to address with this money was the installation of a new or modified fire alarm system at Airport High School, because we've had such trouble with that system, and that it's just outdated. We can't get parts for it, even though it's one of the newer systems in our district. So what I bring to you tonight is just information. I didn't ask that you approve it, but if you feel you need to, I don't have a problem with that. But this is the bid results for widening the road to get fire truck access around Seawick Wood and Pine Ridge. And what we are wanting to do here is take the base bid of $502,100 along with the alternate number 1, which allows us to basically go in and fix the potholes and issues that we have with that road, which is $67,000 for a total of $569,100. And that does include a $15,000 allowance, just in case when they start digging into the soft spots that we end up hitting bad soil, or we could have collapsed pipe. Who knows what we might have underneath there, but we just wanted to give this to you for your information at this point, since you've already approved of these 3 projects for that Abbeville fund. Also, I will say that we, at the same time, put out for bid the installation of the sprinkler system at Seawick, and we only had one bidder, and the bid that we received was tremendously over budget. So as a result, we're going to be looking at different strategies to try to bring to you by the May board meeting to try to, again, get that accomplished during this summer, as, again, that was a requirement of the state fire marshal. And also, that's not.
You do not need a motion on the Abbeville money.
Unless you, I mean, you've already approved those 3 projects for us to use.
You don't need us to approve the contract.
I don't think so, but because you've already kind of voted on those 3 projects. But
I make a motion to accept the bid as recommended by administration.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Eisenhower, too, I know you've been working with the furniture replacement on the glide. Thank you very much for that, and I know that's because you pursued it and stayed behind it. And also thank Thompson and Turner for pitching in and helping with the issues with the waxing of the floors out there. Pretty nice, needs to be mentioned.
thank you. And I want to also give you some information that's just hot off the press that occurred this week. We went before West Columbia for the sign variance for Riverbank, Saluda River, and Northside Middle School, and they did approve those with stipulations that we turn the LED portion of the signs off from 9 o'clock p.m. until 6:30 a.m., and that's at all 3 of those sites. With that, I'll be happy to answer any questions that you might have about the information we provided you in your construction.
Any questions?
How did the inspection go with the results of the inspection for the Eagles Nest there?
The Eagles Nest was already approved. The press box,
Yes, ma'am. Sir, I'm sorry.
the press box was approved that morning. That afternoon, we got information from the fire marshal that he was not going to approve of what was installed with regard to the ability to fight fire in that location. So right now, we're kind of in the middle between the local fire marshal approved of the design, which is what Office of School Facilities requires, because the state fire marshal doesn't have time to review those plans. So we're kind of caught in the middle in that we've done what the local fire marshal has asked us to do, but it's not acceptable to the state fire marshal. So we're trying to work out some kind of reasonable compromise, since that building's only going to get used probably 20 times a year, and it's only about 600 square feet. And there's probably going to be no more than 5 or 6 people in it at any particular time.
What about the Eagles Nest for occupancy? Are they okay for a football?
We have received occupancy for the Eagles Nest.
And it will cover a football team? I mean,
What we've done is again, the Office of School Facilities, if we go in and remodel more than 50% of that building, we have to bring the whole building up to current code. So what we elected to do with the budget that we had was to go in on one half of it and basically get that up to the best that we could get it. The other half, we just kind of took out the old lockers, and we're going to, as money allows, go in with our maintenance department. That will be the side that the visiting team will dress on, so we got to put some benches back in on that side.
so we're okay as far as housing 18 in there, size-wise?
Yes, ma'am. Right now, the baseball team is using that area, and I think they're quite pleased with it.
Keep in mind, we still want to see that.
Any other questions? Is that it?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Above ceiling inspection at Springdale as well?
Depends on the definition of what.
Well, there was April 11th, the April 11th inspection.
Mr. Kugler would probably argue that it took a day and a half, which is kind of lengthy for an overhead inspection. It was very good for the contractor to see the expectation of the Office of School Facilities. They are going to have to make some corrections, and it is going to cost us a little extra money to address a couple things that the Office of School Facility wants us to address. Nothing major, but there were a few items.
On this contract for the lighting and all for the buildings, who got that contract on that?
It was GLE Incorporated. They're out of North Carolina.
Graybar couldn't match that bid?
Graybar does not do the install.
Ah,
They sell.
Said Charlotte,
Monroe, maybe, I'm not sure.
Which is close to Charlotte.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Eisenhower.
Thank you.
Next item is human resources, which we have no report. So I'll now entertain a motion for us to go into executive session.
Madam Chair, I make a motion, the Board of Trustees in a closed session to discuss public property agreement, consideration of outside fundraising request, for consideration of personnel appointments, reappointments, and resignations, for discussion of property matters, and discussion of contractual matters.
Motion to have a second. Second by Ms. Kessler. All in favor say aye. Aye. We are now in executive session.